back to the channel. It's been a little while, almost a week since we've done a video, and I'm very excited to do this one because not only does it happen to be the first day I've had time to make a video, but also the market seems to be doing a lot today, so we got a lot to look at. So this is gonna be fun. Here's how we're gonna start off, all right? First, we're going to talk about what's caused all the fear in the market. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss why the market has been reacting the way they have to everything. We're going to look at a few on-chain metrics for Bitcoin. We're then going to look at a few things that are latest breaking news on Bitcoin just out today. We're going to check those out, and I'm going to talk to you about a few of the things that I think happened over the last week that caused the downtrend. After we move on from Bitcoin, we're going to look at EGLD. When we look at EGLD, we're going to do a price analysis. We're going to look at history. We're going to look at tops, and we're going to look at potential bottoms. Then we're going to take a look at MEX, and we're going to talk about where the MEX asset really is right now, and what is happening on the charts, and how does that relate back to what's actually happening in the real world. So we're going to talk about that. Should give you a much better understanding of at least where my head is at with MEX. Then finally, we're going to do the NFT giveaway. I'm very excited about this. So this is a new rare NFT that commemorates the release of Holoride coming soon. It took a lot of time to create this, so I'm very excited to give away one of them, and then we're going to put the remaining 9 on sale. By the time you watch this video, it'll be up for sale already. The winner will already be selected, and in the description, you're going to have a link to the NFT in case you want it. So make sure you check that out, and stick around until the end so you can see if you won. All right, and here's how the NFT giveaway is going to work. If you won, I'm going to have you DM me on Twitter, or actually, you know what? I'll probably DM you, and then after I DM you, you can tell me your address, and I'll ship the NFT over to you. All right, here we go. Let's get started with Bitcoin, and welcome back. Welcome back. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Links in the description. I've been giving a lot of updates there, so you've been getting those if you've been following. All righty, let's do this. Okay, so we're going to switch over to our full screen view, and we're going to talk a little bit of news. So the first thing I want you to see the progression of this, all right? So this was released yesterday by Blockworks, right? It's just a headline. And basically what it says here is that the mayor of Miami wants to take 401k retirement savings partly in Bitcoin. I think that's a great idea. I think it's something everyone should be doing. It's something that I'm already doing. And I manage my own 401k. So basically what I'm doing with those funds is I'm using them to accumulate Bitcoin. And I'll tell you this, I have a lot more faith in the future of Bitcoin than I do in the future of equities markets. So I think it's a tremendous, tremendous opportunity to collect 401ks in Bitcoin. And you know, seeing the mayor of Miami do it is a signal for what's going to come in the future. So I think that's really interesting. This is one thing that we found out just yesterday. Then we see this. Okay, wait, hang on. Okay, so this is a post that we saw about 32 minutes ago from me writing this. It's by Stacy Herbert, and it says, El Salvador started the central bank wrecking ball rolling. Well, where does that take us? All right, it takes us here to Carl B. Menger, and Carl says, Paraguay considers adopting Bitcoin as tender, another domino that falls gradually then suddenly. 2021, only small countries do it. 2025, only small central banks buy it. I think this is a legitimate way that we are going to see things happen. Central banks are not going to jump onto the Bitcoin bandwagon unless they have a valid reason. Now, what valid reason is better than nation states starting to accept it? If you're a central bank and you are basically your consumers, sorry, I'm filling up my vape as we're talking. Your consumers are people in nation states. If the nation states start adopting Bitcoin and you're not involved in it, I mean, that's just stupid. So central banks should definitely be involved. To be honest with you, I'm glad I would have no issues with central banks being involved with Bitcoin because they can't control the monetary supply. They are awful at controlling monetary supply. The Fed, the Treasury, the central banks, the IMF, they are all just gigantic failures. All they are doing is, they're supposed to protect everyone. All they're doing is printing money. They're spending money they don't have, and they're stealing from everyone on earth. Everyone who has fiat currencies is being robbed, and it is ridiculous. So to see Bitcoin move in this direction where other countries are considering it, it's not a shock. It should have been happening a lot more, but it's happening. They're opening their eyes, and that is the first step. Okay, let's see. What do we got next? Okay, next we have this one here. Mayor Scott Conger. This guy is the mayor of Jackson, Tennessee. All right, so what does he say? Well, new. The employees of the city of Jackson will soon be able to get their 401k retirement savings in Bitcoin. So not only do you have the mayor of Miami starting to take his own 401k in form of Bitcoin, you can anticipate that meaning that he will likely start making this available to his citizens in the town. But now you have the city of Jackson, Tennessee also going to be offering this to, their residents. And that's kind of a big deal. He says here, all of our employees will soon have this option. The RFP is out and proposal due on the 22nd. This isn't far away. I mean, that's 10 days away that the proposals are due. And you can assume that if it's coming from the mayor and he's in control in some degree of, getting these things through an approval process, I don't think it'll be too long before these things are approved. So something to keep in mind, and as this type of news comes, well, as you have a city of people that can start getting Bitcoin in their 401ks, well, there's going to be a lot of demand for Bitcoin because those funds are going to need Bitcoin. So super, super interesting. I think these are things that we really need to look at. All right, let's move on to the chart. So this is the Bitcoin chart. This is what we've been looking at. This is on the daily. All right, first thing we'll look at is the TD sequential. And what you can see on the TD sequential is that we've actually been having some pretty decent sideways trading, right? The way we know that is that the TD sequential is not getting extended to nines in either direction, right? It's not getting overbought, it's not getting oversold, it's kind of just chilling in the middle. And you can somewhat see that here in the RSI too. We're under the 45 level, but we've strayed away now from the oversold levels. So we're getting to that median point, which is where you really want to be for a nice major run. You want to be somewhere in the middle of the RSI, somewhere between like 45 and 55. And we're pretty much there. We're at roughly 41 right now, right? 40.9 to 40, about 41. That's where we are with RSI. And I think what we're going to see is Bitcoin continue to go sideways to some degree. And as these news articles come out, as we start finding out what's happening in the Bitcoin world that we don't find out day to day, sometimes we find out week to week, as those things happen, people are going to realize that this is growing faster than people realize. And the downtime while prices are down is when people are accumulating and getting in. And we can see that quite clearly if we look at the on-chain metrics. If you take a look at this chart here, and should we stay on full screen or should we do this? No, we'll stay on full screen. Okay, so if we look at this, basically what we're seeing in this view is that, this is basically where we had a massive downtrend. So this is 60K right here. Let's actually move down from 60K. I'm going to take us back to around the start of December. So this is when we were at around 59,000 and the price dipped all the way down to around 53. When that first drop happened, what you really saw was that we had a lot more outflows of Bitcoin coming into it. So the bottom line here, this blue line going across the screen is the zero level. Anything on top of the zero level in blue, those are inflows of Bitcoin coming onto exchanges. Anything below that dashed blue line in the middle at the zero level, anything below that are outflows. That's Bitcoin exiting exchanges. So we see a couple of interesting things in the net flow, right, that just give us key data. The first thing we see is that before the initial drop down from 59K down to 53K, we saw a bunch of inflows, right? You can see those here. You see this, and these inflows, what happened to my brush? Dude, my brush is supposed to be a different color. I'll have to fix that later. Okay, so we saw those inflows, right? Then what do you see? You see the drop happen, and as it's happening, you see a bunch of outflows start occurring. When it happened here, it was still an undecided area. Then the price spiked up, and when the price spiked up, people already felt fear when it dropped down to like 53. Price spikes, and now suddenly you have huge inflows coming in, massive inflows of Bitcoin, and then what happens next? Well, the price drops. And why does the price drop? Because a whole bunch of Bitcoin just got onto exchanges and was likely sold at this area. And as it was sold, the supply was greater than what was on the order books and the price dropped. Now, the funny thing is that you can actually go on to certain websites like Glassnode and stuff, and you can get an idea of what's on the order book, how many orders are there. And it was quite evident at this point in time that the order books were very thin, meaning that a move like this was possible, meaning that someone could put in a bunch of Bitcoin onto exchanges, sell it, and crash the market. Now, if they did that, why would they do that? Well, you could open up a short position at the same time at high leverage and then sell a bunch of Bitcoin. You sell your Bitcoin, your short position makes a ton of money. You close your short position, you buy back your Bitcoin at the bottom. So someone probably made a ton of money doing this And it was probably a sophisticated investor and a very, very wealthy investor, a group of investors that coordinated this. This, my friends, had nothing to do with Bitcoin being bearish. This had more to do with making money. And as Bitcoin has a low market cap, this is going to continue happening. Once we see Bitcoin enter the 12, $15 trillion market cap space and start overtaking gold, then we're going to see that this kind of thing is going to be a lot more difficult to achieve. And the reason for that is your user counts are going to be way higher. The order book's going to have a lot more liquidity in it. And then on top of that, you're going to need a lot more money in order to move the market. So goals are there. And, this is just something that you see right now when an asset is fairly new in its existence. Now we're going to look at what happened after that. So a bunch of Bitcoin came on, price crashes. Well, then suddenly after the price crashes, the amount of outflows are massive. You start to see insane amounts of outflows. The amount of Bitcoin leaving exchanges just skyrocketed. At the same time, you started to see some pretty big inflows. So this has kept us going sideways, inflows and outflows. Now what's happening is that we are starting to put in almost a very classic continuation pattern. Right? If we're putting in like a triangle pattern like this when it comes to the Bitcoin price, and we'll look at the chart to see that actually. Let's switch over to the chart and let's go to our other view. So let's go over to the chart. Here we go. And in this view, what you can see here now pretty clearly is that we have basically been going sideways for quite some time, right? This entire area here. When we zoom into this, we're going to do it at the 4 hours so you can really see this moving and making progress. And let's get rid of the TD sequential. Okay, so what you're seeing here is almost a clear consolidation pattern, right? You see it. I mean, there's not even much sense in me explaining this, but we will go over it. So we see that. We're going to get our colors right, and we're going to get our pixels right so you can view it clearly. Okay, we got that. Now we'll take the next one, and we're going to put that trend line here, right? So we're going to follow the trend line we already have. That is a symmetrical triangle continuation pattern. Now, the funny thing is continuation patterns usually break into the trend that they came from. So this came from a downtrend, right? That was the pattern coming down. We are now doing a continuation, and you would expect the majority of the time that the price is going to fall from a continuation pattern. So keep that in mind. If the price does fall here, we're basically looking at the price to come back to these levels down at around 42K where we touched Bitcoin at the bottom and then we came back up. That's based purely on the chart. Now, what we're looking at happening in the world is that it's actually becoming more bullish, right? The amount of Bitcoin is just leaving. If we go back to, let's take a look at the exchange reserves here on CryptoQuant. And basically what we're seeing on the exchange reserves is quite simple. The exchange reserves are dropping insanely. This is at the block level. I'm going to go to the daily. So if we look at the daily level of the Bitcoin exchange reserves, they are now here on the right-hand side, okay? This is the last time we saw this was back here. Now, the interesting thing about that is this area where we saw it last, that area, this was in July of 2018. So we are really, really going to a point where the exchange reserves are moving in a backwards fashion now. They peaked out, and then the massive bull market started. We see the price took huge appreciations as this peaked out. You had the most Bitcoin ever on exchanges, and then we have the March crash, then the price starts spiking, and all the Bitcoin's leaving exchanges because now people are accumulating. This is very, very different than other bull markets. In other bull markets, we usually saw these numbers keep going up because there was so much Bitcoin, right? We consolidated to a certain level, and then we saw massive appreciation. Now, the Bitcoin's leaving. Everyone's buying it. It's leaving the exchanges. So you have to look at what's happening on chain. Let's go back to the chart. So now with this continuation pattern in place, the question a lot of people are going to ask themselves is Bitcoin going to crash? And what you're going to see is you're going to see a number of traders have that fear. And I think that you're going to see traders selling. So I think there's going to be some sell pressure coming from traders. This is something to expect. You never know exactly what they're going to do. If anything else coordinated hits the market, it's a possibility. But for right now, I think it's safe to say that we are putting in a symmetrical triangle, and that symmetrical triangle is showing us that we're going to have a move sometime before December the 20th. So right around Christmas time, if we keep moving like this, right? If we keep going in this direction, right around this area here, which is around the 20th, is when I expect us to reach that inflection point where something big is going to happen. Now, granted, it could happen earlier than that because news is going to start coming out as things happen. So as more news comes out, if it seems bullish, people are going to buy. So keep that in mind. I think Bitcoin is nowhere close to done. In reality, if you go to the daily chart and you look where we are, what we have done is we've fallen out of a very long-term pattern and we're getting support at a regression line right below that pattern. So these regression channels are super important, and you can see here we got support on that regression channel. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Sorry about that. I'm going to zoom in a bit. So you see here we got support at that regression channel. We're moving back up. Let's look at the weekly now. Now the weekly really gives us a good idea of what's happening. Now on the weekly chart, what you can see is that we peaked out the first time that we hit around 63, 64K. This was in April of 2021. Okay, so quite a while. Some time has passed now. We consolidated, we went sideways, and suddenly what we see here is that this is a massive ascending triangle, and ascending triangles normally break bullish. Right now, we're testing the bottom of it. We tested the bottom of it once, twice, third again. Actually, the second time we didn't really hit it, but it was pretty close. Now what we've done is something else very interesting, all right? This weekly chart's super important, so take a look at this weekly chart. The first thing you'll see is throughout this whole bull run, all right, on the weekly chart, we have been above this blue moving average. This is a 20 exponential moving average. We came down once with a major correction onto the orange, all right? That's the 50 exponential moving average. We got support on the 50, we fell below it slightly, hit our trend line, and then we kept moving up. We got back above the 20 exponential moving average. Now we've come back down and we're testing the 50. I think it's very possible that we continue trading sideways for the next week or two, and we put in like 2 more weekly candles where we're somewhat in this general area as this 50 starts stabilizing. And then what I think we're going to see is that we're going to move right back into the symmetrical triangle, and we're going to start getting close to a breakout. I personally think that breakout's going to happen sometime in Q1 of 2022, somewhere between January and March. I truly believe the cycles are changing now because the capital coming in is vastly different than before. Last time we had a bull market, we saw Bitcoin shoot up massively. Why did we see that? Why in the world did we see Bitcoin go up so high so fast? It's because of FOMO. You had people fearing that they were going to miss out, and they bought in. And what happened when everyone was buying? Well, there was nobody waiting to sell. There was nobody waiting to buy lower, right? Everyone was buying. Now, everyone wanted to sell at the same time, and there were no buy orders, so the price tanked. The difference now, and why you're not seeing Bitcoin tank, is because there are people that want to buy, and those people are waiting to buy at better prices. So the price drops down to 42K, it wicks right back up to 49K in the same day. That's a $9,000 wick up. How did that happen? It happened because people were waiting to buy. Every time you start to see Bitcoin bottoming, you start to see this happening. You look here, you see a lot of wicks. Why do you see all those wicks? Oh, I'm not even showing you. Okay, so you look here, you start to see wicks. Why do we see all those wicks? So this is the wick we saw here first, right? I want you to take a look at this. So you see this wick. This was last week. This wick tells us one very clear thing. It tells us that after the price dropped down from 49K down to 42K, it was bought up rapidly. Okay, that's what it tells us. Very simple. Now we're gonna go back a little bit further. This was the crash when we crashed down from 64K or 60K down to around 28K back in April, May, and June, right? Around that time. Now, if this kind of crash is something dangerous, well, the first thing you have to see is what are people doing? Well, what are they doing here in all these weekly candles? They're buying everything up. You see a massive amount of Bitcoin being bought as the price becomes better. Now, we go back to right now. You saw the exact same thing. You saw a lot of Bitcoin being bought as soon as the price became better. People don't want to buy up here, but what they don't realize is eventually this area is going to turn into this area. That's just how Bitcoin works. Everyone's short-sighted. No one's looking long-term. There's a reason I don't sell Bitcoin. I just accumulate it, because the longer I accumulate, the longer I hold, it's just going to keep rising. And if it's going to keep rising, why shouldn't I have my money there? That's where it should be. Why should it be in the US dollar, where they just keep printing it and it's being burned? I'm not in the business of working hard and watching my money burn. That's why I have Bitcoin. Okay, and that's actually why I also have EGLD. I think DeFi is going to do something very similar to what Bitcoin's done, but it's going to hit different financial services before Bitcoin does. I think eventually Bitcoin will offer similar financial services on top, on different layers. But the network effect for financial services, I think, is going to go to DeFi. I think DeFi is going to grow faster, and people are going to choose to use it for financial services and choose to use Bitcoin for store of value. That's what I think is going to happen. That's what I'm betting on. Decide if that's what you want to bet on. It's completely up to you. You got to figure out, how do you think this is going to happen? All right, let's move on. All right, we've been on Bitcoin for quite some time. It is time to now move on to something else. And we'll just end this by saying right now, I'm looking to accumulate Bitcoin. All right, that's my goal. So if that's my goal, I want it to go down. I don't want Bitcoin to keep going up. If we can go down to 38, 40K again, and I can buy around this area, my orders are there. If it drops, if there's a flash crash and it goes to 38,000, I'm getting Bitcoin, right? I keep those orders alive. I did that here. I had orders sitting at around 50K, right? 51K. Those orders all triggered. I didn't have any orders as low as 42K. I should have. So now I'm not taking any chances. I'm putting the orders down at around 38, 39, 40, just in case. If there's a flash crash, I want the Bitcoin at those prices. So that's the key. And I'm still waiting to see us hit our all-time highs at around 200,000 or higher by May of 2022. I think it's going to be longer than people expect. I think we're going to see something like this where we have a move up, we consolidate, and we have slow moves up. And I don't really think that this is going to go into a traditional bear market again. I think that the bear market for Bitcoin now is going to be something like this. Like, I think these are going to be the bear markets we see. Shorter term bear markets. That's what I think. But I could be wrong. Those things change. Let's move on. All right. Next, we're going to move on to EGLD. All right, first thing we look at with EGLD, what's happening? All right, let's take a look at things on the daily. I like to look at the daily chart a little bit more. Now, when we look at the daily chart, we can see a couple of key things, right? Let me get rid of these rectangles. It's gonna make life a little easier. Okay, so the first thing we see is obviously we peaked out at around 545. EGLD then drops. When EGLD hit this area at around 350, we had a massive drop. This is when Bitcoin crashed. It goes down to 224, hits the golden pocket, comes back up, continues to consolidate. You see this green and then this yellow. This is indicating that it's massively oversold. These are buy signals. So it's telling us that per the asset's fundamental appreciation patterns, what's happened here is that it's gone down to a price that is very oversold for the asset. It actually fell below the 45 level, and actually on the daily almost went down right to the oversold level. So it's heavily oversold. If we had actually gone down and traded more in the golden pocket, you would have seen this below the oversold levels. Now, what you want to see with the golden pocket is you want to see that after you test it, that you come back and bounce out of it. I don't really consider this flash crash or this, this crash on the daily to be a good test of it. It did test the bottom of it, absolutely. We got support there just like we expected. But what I really wanted to see was for us to trade between 225 and 240. And while we were there, I wanted to see what kind of pattern we put in. How much support did we get at that area? We haven't hit it yet. I think it's unlikely that we hit it because what we are actually seeing now is that we're getting support on the regression channel. The regression channel has been followed immensely well over time. We've seen this be a bottom before. This is actually not even a regression channel, sorry. I don't think we've ever touched this regression channel, but we've seen these upper regression channels be bottoms before. Let's get rid of the TD sequential. It's gonna make this a little bit easier to look at. Okay, so you see here that with EGLD, as we have continued to move up, we have really held these regression channels well. You see here that you got support on this regression channel before a move up. Well, I think that getting support on this regression channel over the next 4 to 5 days and continue to moving up, well, that really tells us that, by December the 20th, we should be back at the 280, 290 range, possibly higher. We know that this one line, this Fibonacci line, this green line right here is key. It's super important. This was a prior top. So let's go to our brush tool here. And you see here, this was a prior top right on that Fibonacci line. It also topped out there again. Then we got support on it. Then we actually hit resistance on it. and now we're trading below it again. So what I really want to see, the key, is the 300 level. That's key. Anything before the 300 level, personally, I'm not worried about it because it's accumulation. That's what I'm going to do there. 300 to me is the bottom. I don't see the price being worth less than 300. So this asset should be worth more than 300. I think right now, value-wise, 300 is the absolute bottom. If that's the case and we're below 300, well, what would I do in that situation? What I'm doing now, I would accumulate. I'm accumulating what I can because I anticipate that as Holoride is released, as more functionality comes to the DEX, as the NFT marketplace is released, as more partners start building dApps, as those things happen, you're going to get a lot more adoption. As that adoption grows, you're going to see it start rising. I think this is going to happen with a number of DeFi projects. I think the same kind of thing is going to start happening for Cardano. A lot of people think that there has to be this massive, our DeFi project's better than yours. Healthy competition, it's good. But looking at it from the eyes of an investor, well, what do I look at? I look at different ecosystems for different people. There are some people that'll prefer Cardano. There are some people that'll prefer Avalanche or Avax or whatever, those ones. I don't even know too much about those assets. I need to research them more. And then there are a lot of people that will prefer Elrond. I prefer Elrond because of the good, stable token economics. The dev team that does GitHub commits all the time and that are building quickly, the list of partners, the actual UI and functionality of the Maiar app, the DEX. There's a lot of stuff that they've built that is just usable, useful. And the DEX is brand new. And we'll talk about the DEX for a minute. And let's go over to let's finish this real quick. So for my bottom target for EGLD, I'm really looking at around 225. I would love to see the price to go down there. And if it does, I want to see how does it trade between 225 and 240. That's going to tell me what to expect on the way up. Now, assuming we have an uptrend here, because this could be the bottom, right? We had hit 250. That could very well be the bottom. If it is, what I'm going to look for here is how do we interact with the 300 level. Anywhere between 250 and 300 is going to remain accumulation for me, so I'm going to keep buying at those levels. Once we go past 300, I want to see us flip the 300 level, so I want to see something like this. I want to see the price go up. I want to flip the 300 level as support, and then I want to trade sideways a little bit in this area. This will probably be in the 340, 350 range, and have a sustained break above. We need to put more volume in above the 330 level, and we need to put more volume in between 260 and 300, right? So this area too needs more volume. So as we start moving up, I want to see that volume come in. I'm looking for a break like this. Even if it goes into January, it doesn't matter. That's what I want to see. And it's going to be very crucial for us to see how does the Elrond market react to Holoride. If you start seeing a lot of people coming in and then they realize they need EGLD to buy Holoride and they want to get into Holoride, you're going to see the amount of EGLD start disappearing from exchanges. As that starts happening, I think we're going to see the price shoot up. Now, volatility is going to be very, very important to be ready for, because as you have new things being released, there are going to be people that come in right in the beginning to get value. They come in, they buy, and then as soon as something peaks for the first time, they sell. So I think you're going to see a lot of volatility when Ride is released. I think what's going to happen, a lot of people are going to buy it immediately, and then within a couple of days, as it peaks up, they're going to start selling. Then it's going to stabilize and it's going to find the right valuation. So decide with Ride. Are you going to be a short-term investor or a long-term investor? Are you going to get in immediately, or are you going to start accumulating now so you can buy more? The way I look at it is I want to buy a bunch of EGLD. I want to buy a bunch of Ride. Now, if that's the case, what do I need to do right now? Well, number one, I buy EGLD, I pair it with the LockMex that I'm farming, and I continue to increase my farming stake. Then, when I'm ready to buy Ride, when the time comes, I'll already have EGLD that I bought at cheaper prices, and I'm going to use that to buy Ride, effectively giving me a discount on Ride. That's what I'm doing right now. Okay, upper targets, I'm looking well above the all-time high. Timeline, I think it's going to be somewhere in Q1 of 2022 as well. I think we're going to have a slow uptrend. We're going to have some peaks and valleys. We're going to put in a lot of trading in this area between 360 and 300. So I think we're going to see a lot more volume here. We'll probably come up, trade sideways here, and then we'll probably start moving into this channel, trading sideways, and then moving up. I think you're going to see something similar to what you saw here, right? You had a peak, you came down, you consolidated upwards, and then broke again. And I think that's what's going to happen. We peaked, we came down, consolidate upwards, and then move up. The consolidation upwards might be a lot more parabolic though, because this drop was You know, it had nothing to do with EGLD. The asset's value is there, but you had a lot of speculators coming in to make a quick buck and take rewards. They're all gone now. Now you're going to see organic growth. All right, let's move forward. We're going to look at the MEX chart now. Okay, so the MEX chart is pretty interesting as well. Now, a lot of people have asked me why I don't look at EGLD MEX and look at MEX USD. The reason I do everything in USD is because that is what investors are putting in. There's not a lot of retail investors that are, you know, measuring things in terms of EGLD USD value, even though you should be. I mean, I measure it that way too, but I look at the USD chart because USD is the global reserve currency, so everyone can relate to this. That's why I look at it. It's my wife's mug. It says beautiful on it. All right. Okay, so when we look at the MEX chart, this is a very telling chart. Okay, it's giving us a lot of good information. Even though it's not very long, we got to try to decipher it. So what are we seeing here? Well, the first thing that we see is that we had a massive, massive uptrend, right? As soon as the release came out, MEX shot up. What in the world? Why did my like drawing tools all change color? What is going on? Style. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. So we started off and we basically had this massive run. You had a lot of people coming in. And why were they coming in? What was really, really going on? Well, what was happening here? Are you kidding me? What am I doing? How do I keep changing these? I need to pay attention. Okay, let's put this back. Okay, there we go. So you had this, you had this massive run up, right? And now what's happening is you're seeing that we had a huge sell-off. Why did all this happen? Well, first of all, speculation, right? You had a lot of people coming in, a lot of people not knowing what's going to happen, bought a ton of MEX. MEX got overheated massively. This tends to happen with all new assets. And then it took a huge drop. A lot of people wanted to buy down here and sell up here, and they did it. They took instant profits. As they sold it, this was during the whole time that the Denver strategy was being used in farming. So what you really had is all the people that were buying MEX here were slowly selling their MEX, converting it to EGLD to do more farming. This was bad. That was part of the reason that they needed to change the economics, because they incentivized selling MEX, which doesn't really make sense. Now we see that after this area right here, right where we have this gap, is pretty much where we had the DEX gone, right? You see that there's a gap here, and then you had this massive move up and all this stuff happened. This is when the DEX got turned back on. So when the DEX got turned back on, you saw the price of MEX shoot up, then you start to see it sell off again. Very reminiscent of what you saw here, just at a smaller scale. You had a lot of people that wanted to de-risk that didn't know what they were getting into with a DEX this early on. Didn't know that their funds could get locked for updates. They didn't know that, you know, you're getting the high rewards for the high risk. Like, people have this mentality that I'm just going to come in and earn money and you owe it to me. It's free. No, if you're going to participate in a DEX and you're going to get crazy rewards for providing liquidity, there's risk with that. I mean, if you don't realize that, then you shouldn't be in the space. So if you do watch my videos and you didn't know this, you need to research. You need to do your homework. I can't tell you everything, but everyone should have been aware of this if they were farming in a brand new DEX. So you need to know these things. Do your research. Do not invest in things without doing your homework. Do your homework. Now, what did we see here? Well, basically, what we ended up seeing is now the price is dropped down. All right, hang on. Let me see if I can get rid of this little prediction here. Okay, now what we see is that the price has dropped down. Now, what does that mean? The price has dropped down here, and suddenly it's stabilized, and it's going sideways. Why? Why is the price stable? Why is it so stable, more than it's been this entire time? This is the longest sideways consolidation we've seen for MEX. Ask yourself why. Well, because there's no longer incentive to sell it. Now it's found a market valuation at current prices. The drop is relative to the rest of the drop in the market, and it's going sideways. So what's happening now is that there's no incentive to sell MEX, because if you're selling MEX, you're basically just converting it to EGLD, and you know, you're not using it to farm. In fact, your incentive now is, if you want to increase your farm stake, you either should already be earning locked MEX to pair that with EGLD. If you're not doing that already, then basically what you have to do is you have to put in EGLD, convert some of it to MEX, and pair it together. Now the incentive is to buy MEX. It's not to sell MEX. So you saw the price stabilize because there are no people trying to sell their MEX. Now people are actually trying to accumulate, and they may be doing that as we get closer to the listing. So I'm expecting that we've probably floored here. Unless the entire market crashes and something becomes very bearish, I don't really think we're going to see MEX go much further down. I think that 0.6, I think 0.00, I'm just going to call it 681. 681, I think, is the bottom, because I think we have shown that what's happened now is that this is the area where people are not willing to sell. And if people are not willing to sell here, well, then what's going to happen? Then you're going to have people earning locked MEX, because that's where you're getting double the rewards. You're going to have some sell pressure coming from the people who are just generating MEX, but I don't know why you do that when you can get such higher rewards for locked MEX. It's only if you're not here long term. So you're going to have some slight sell pressure, but the buy pressure is going to stabilize it, because people are going to want to increase their farm stakes, and more people are going to find liquidity farming and discover that they can earn yield like this, and they're going to start getting in. Now I think what's going to happen with the ride listing is that you're going to see demand start to spike, because now people are going to need MEX. They're going to need it for staking. As you start seeing these things happen, the utility of MEX and locked MEX are going to keep growing. And I think that we're going to see massive increases here over time. I don't think it'll be quick. I think it'll be over the course of the next year. You're going to see huge price increases for MEX, because I think right now, if it can top out on pure speculation at around 0.0017, well, I think that what's going to end up happening is that we're going to slowly come back and put in a ton of volume until we reach that area. Look at the volume. All right, that's another thing you really need to pay attention to. Let's actually zoom in. Okay, so this is the volume for MEX. The one interesting thing that you see here with the volume is that we had massive volume early on. It tapered. Then right before the DEX went down, we started to have volume come back in. Then you had huge sell volume when the DEX came back online. Now volume has tapered. In reality, when you look at this, you see that volume has been on a significant downtrend. Now, volume, like everything else, moves in cycles. I think what's going to happen here is that as the utility increases, you're going to see the buy volume start spiking. And as that happens, I think the price is going to appreciate quite a lot. So it's a risk-on asset. Right now, you're investing in a brand new DEX into a blockchain that is, just starting to offer all kinds of services. So the question really going to be is, who do you think the winners are going to be in the DeFi space, and why? I personally think that one of those winners is going to be Elrond, because they have an architecture that they can scale out to be incredibly robust. As that starts happening, and you need a platform like that, a lot of other platforms are going to start getting throttled and hit bottlenecks. But what's going to happen with Elrond is that the problems are just going to start to disappear. All these issues you saw with the DEX where too many people coming on and failed transactions, all that stuff, it's because right now they're not using multi-sharded architecture on that DEX. As those things evolve and they start doing that and use the blockchain to its full capabilities, increase the number of nodes, increase the number of shards, well, I think you're going to see massive speed performance issues start to disappear. All those things are going to vanish. I think what you'll see is a blockchain capable of handling low transactions and massively high transactions with the exact same performance, and that performance will be lightning fast. This is just how infrastructures get built, right? You built the base layers first, then you built the integration of your apps and services into those layers, and then you start expanding out the functionality to really get the most robust scalability. And Elrond can do it. A lot of others can't do it. They don't have the underlying architecture. That's valuable, because as you start growing, you need those capabilities. And those capabilities eventually, I think it'll be what brings people to Elrond from other ecosystems. They're going to see that they don't have these same issues as those ecosystems start to grow. Elrond is like this awesome project that basically is growing organically, and then as it starts growing, it has the capability of better performance than all of its competitors. That better performance will cause, as the entire DeFi industry grows, and you need that performance, it'll cause people from other projects to start coming here. Let them take their time. The longer they take, the more I can accumulate, the more I can farm, and the better my chances are of growth in my portfolio longer term. Now, that's not to say I'm not buying other DeFi assets. I think there's going to be a bunch of winners. And what I'll probably end up doing is, if any of those other winners have massive gains, I might sell percentages of those and add to my holdings of EGLD. It's kind of what I'm looking at right now. All right, you guys, we're at 40 minutes. I think that's long enough for today. You've gotten a little bit of my information on everything. I think what comes next is basically we see how Bitcoin does over the next 2 to 3 weeks. What we really want to see is we want to see Bitcoin go above this trend line. All right, that's basically now at the 52 to 53K level. Once we break 53K, I think it's going to be time for everyone to get very, very bullish, because once we're above 53K and we're back into this area here where we had massive support and resistance prior, if we get back into that range, it's a good chance to say that it may not be that we're going to come back down to the 40s again, right? I think it's already very unlikely to near impossible for us to go back down to 10K, 15K, 20K. I don't think we're going to see those prices again. Now, I think that slowly that's what's going to happen to 30K, 40K, 50K, right? It's going to start becoming so much more valuable that those prices are just never going to happen. We're witnessing that happen now to the 40 and 50K level. As it starts moving forward, look to get back into this ascending triangle. Once we get back into this ascending triangle and we pass, I think the golden area is around 43, is around 53, 53 to 54K. Once we break above 53 to 54K, it's not only, so I'll tell you why that's the golden area. So number one, that is the area where we have AR. Let's get rid of this. Okay, number one, that's the area where we've hit this top here, right? It's also the area where we have the 20 exponential moving average, and it's also an area where we're lacking volume. So once we start filling up this gap right here in volume, okay, once that starts getting filled up and we start moving past this 20 exponential moving average, that's going to be the signal to me that we are likely going to have a breakout through this range. Then we're back in blue sky breakout, and well, that's when this prediction comes into play. So be ready for it. Follow the markets, follow the news, make sure you know what's going on. Don't follow just the fear and the BS, because there's too much of that in the market. And, you know, all these people saying crypto is going to make you a millionaire. I tweeted about this. Look, it's not going to make you a millionaire. Smart decisions are going to make you a millionaire. You can make millions in a bear market if you're smart, right? Because you bet against the market. So in this scenario, you got to figure out what the smart move is, right? Just buying a crypto that you know nothing about, not smart. Doing your homework and having reasons to believe in the different assets, smart. Do your homework, all right? And follow me on Twitter. Make sure you do that. That's smart too. All right, you guys, it is now time for our NFT giveaway. Let's do this. All right, this is NFT number 5 in the Legend set. There are 5 more NFTs in this set. I have a website being built. That's going to come soon. I'm also doing a lot of other work in digital art, digital graphics, and I'm looking to really expand this project. So as time goes on, we're going to have different categories. We're going to have different sets, and we might have different artists. So it's going to be very, very interesting where this goes. And the goal is to make these early sets. So maybe sets 1 through 3, this is set number 1, to make these the rarest, right? And you're only going to do that in one way if you scale. And I think that we're going to have a lot more people coming to Elrond, so I want this to scale. I want these to become collector's items. Eventually, I don't want it to matter that they were created by me. I want it to matter that these sets are limited. So that's kind of the goal, and I really hope people enjoy it. Let's move forward. And the art's going to get a lot better too, because I'm investing a lot in the knowledge of digital art. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so here we go. This is the preview. All right. I might start adding music to these. We'll see. To the previews. All right. That's the NFT, you guys. You're going to like it a lot better when you see the actual NFT, because I've rendered it in really good quality. And obviously, it just looks cool, you know? So we're going to pick a winner. How do we do this? So we are going to highlight this Twitter post. All right, so this was the post I told you to like and retweet and leave a reply, and we're going to select the winner today. So you are going to get a rare NFT. There's only 10 of them, okay? And this is going to be valued at 1 EGLD at sale price. So what I'm going to do is this. After this video is made, I'm going to mint the NFT. I'm going to know who the winner is. I'll reach out to the winner, and I'm going to list the 9 NFTs remaining for sale. So by the time you watch this, they're going to be for sale. Make sure you check out the link in the description, and you can, decide if you want to buy yourself a copy before they're gone. All right. There's also a couple of other uncommon NFTs you'll see on my profile that are still available. There's 16 each available, and that's exactly what I wanted to happen. I wanted to have those uncommons start being available, so as people find me, and once the website's up and the project's up, that people actually have some inventory to buy. So if you want any of those, make sure you check them out too. Remember, eventually, uncommons are going to become more rare too, because I'm going to add commons. When commons come, there's only going to be a few uncommons, a very few rares, and very, very few legendaries. Right now, there's only one legendary in the whole set. Okay, so let's do this. We got this. We got the comment here. All right, we're going to load the tweet. All right, we're actually going to move over to the full screen view. So here's the tweet. We're going to have one winner that must follow CryptoDiv. All right, that's a given. And the next thing we're going to see, we're not going to use any of these. So hopefully we don't get a bot. If we do, that sucks, but we'll see. All right, now we're going to look at any tweets within the past month. That's good. Any number, okay. All right, now this is basically a retweet picker. So I told you to like and retweet and leave a reply, but we're actually just going to be picking the winner based on the retweet. I could just scroll through and pick someone, but I think this is cooler. So let's go ahead and hit continue. All right, here are all of our entries. We have 378 entries, and time to pick a winner. All right, so we are going to hit continue again. All right, and now we can begin the draw. So we're going to have 378 entries. We're going to have one winner, and we're about to do the draw. Hey, good luck. I really hope one of you wins, which you will. All right, game on. All right, the drawing is complete. Our winner is Mac71. Mac71, that is at COOPS Dice, D-I-C-E, Coops Dice. All right, Mac71. I'm going to send you a DM soon. Congratulations, you got your new NFT coming to you. I hope you really like it. And I hope you hang on to it, because I feel like if this project grows, then there's going to be some value in these down the road. But remember, for any buyers of my NFTs or any other NFTs, NFTs are risky. We don't know what's going to happen with that market. I personally think that market's going to grow, which is why I'm getting involved in it. Plus, I like digital art. I think that opportunity exists, but it comes with great risk. So make sure if you're buying my NFTs or any other NFTs, you're just aware of that, right? Be aware of that. Don't expect that every NFT you buy, you're going to be able to flip immediately. Maybe in a year you will. Maybe you won't. You don't know. Even me, I buy NFTs knowing the risk. So make sure you're aware of that, and make sure you do really well. And congratulations to Coops Dice, Max71, for the win on this giveaway. We're going to have more giveaways coming in the future, but probably on uncommons. I don't know how many rares I'm going to be giving away. All right, you guys, I really appreciate you. Thank you for joining me. It's been a long video, 50 minutes, but that's what you get when I don't do a video for like a week. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope to see you soon. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Make sure you check out my profile on eMoonSpace to check out the other NFTs, and good luck on getting one of the 9 that's going to be listed. I have a feeling these NFTs are going to go pretty quick. The rares tend not to hang out for too long. Anyways, I appreciate you. I'll catch you later. Feel free to send me any questions on Twitter. Peace out.